Hello there, I'm Jesse, and welcome back to another episode of the Lost Media Mysteries. It's been 4 years since I last covered on Lost Media, since the unreleased Eric Stoltz cut of Back to the Future. Anyways, let's move on and focus on today's subject, which is going to be about Christine Chubbuck, which is, by the way, going to be a very dark and disturbing subject. So if you get easily disturbed and horrified, please stop watching now, since it contains heavy and disturbing material such as suicide, although this video will not contain the death video of Christine, as it is still lost media. So anyways, let's start. Christine Chubbuck was a 29-year-old American woman born on August 24th, 1944 in Hudson, Ohio. She was born as the daughter of Margaretta D. Pegg and George Fairbanks Chubbuck. Christine had two brothers named Greg and Tim, one of which is still alive to this date. Christine attended a school called the Laurel School for Girls in Shaker Heights, which is a suburb in Cleveland. In her years at Laurel, she jokingly started a dateless wonder club with other rejected girls who didn't have dates on Saturday nights. Chubbuck then attended at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio for a year and majoring in theater arts. She then attended Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts, before earning her degree in broadcasting at Boston University in 1965. According to Christine's brother Greg, she started to date a man in his 30s when she was 21 years old. But her father disapproved of the relationship, and she didn't date another man ever since then. Christine worked for station WXLT-TV in Cleveland between 1966 to 1967, and attended a summer workshop in radio and television at New York University in 1967. In that same year, she worked in Canton, Ohio for 3 months at WQED-TV in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as an assistant producer for two local shows, Women's World and Keys to the City. In 1968, Chubbuck left WQED to spend 4 years as a hospital computer operator and 2 years with a cable television firm in Sarasota, Florida, immediately before joining ABC affiliate WXLT-TV, now WWSB-TV. She worked in the traffic department of WTOG-TV in St. Petersburg, Florida. Years before her death, Chubbuck had moved into her family's cottage in Siesta Key. Sally Quinn of the Washington Post later reported that she had painted her bedroom to look like that of a young teenager. After Chubbuck's parents had divorced, her mother Peg and her younger brother Greg came to live in the Florida home. When Greg left, her elder brother Tim moved in. Chubbuck had a close relationship with her family, describing her mother and Greg as her closest friends. When Christine had initially been hired at WXLT-TV, she was originally hired as a news reporter, but was later given her own community affairs talk show titled Suncoast Digest, which would air at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Christine took her position very seriously, as she would invite local officials from Sarasota and Bradenton to matters of interest to the growing beach community. Christine throughout her life had struggled with maintaining relationships and trying to start a relationship, but never went anywhere, and suffered from depression throughout her whole life leading up to her eventual end. She was still a virgin and wanted to become a mother and start a family. In 1973, she had her right ovary removed by her doctor and told her that if she didn't conceive within 2 to 3 years, she may never have children. This upset Christine badly. She had a crush on fellow co-worker George Peter Ryan. She had baked him a cake for his birthday in an attempt to get his attention, but he was already dating one of Christine's friends, Andrea Kirby. She was offered a job in Baltimore, Maryland, which depressed Christine. She had a hard time trying to maintain friendships as well. She would spend many times criticizing herself. Prior to her suicide in 1974, Christine had attempted to take her own life by overdosing on sleeping pills, which failed, and would oftenly mention this. One day, while making a report on how one would commit suicide, she had asked a police officer how one would take their own life, and he said that you would need a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver and pointed to the back of your right ear. Christine used this, of course, as advice for what she would plan to do later with herself in 1974. Christine afterwards had gone to a gun shop to buy a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver, and had shown it to her co-workers and said that she had bought the gun for protection, and then joked to Newsnight editor Rob Smith about shooting her brains off on the air, which he just dismissed as a sick joke from her not taking her seriously and ignoring all the red flags and warnings about what she would later do to herself. Christine then hosted a party, basically a farewell party, days before the infamous incident. A WXLT sportscaster, Craig Sager, who gained fame as a sideline reporter for Turner Sports, was many who attended the party and said she was having a great time. It was like, oh my god, this is such a different side to her, Sager recalls. That was her going away party, and it was her way of just saying goodbye to everyone. But of course, we didn't realize it at the time. It was just so shocking. Sager had been recovering spring training for baseball when he learned about Christine's suicide. On the morning of July 15th, 1974, Chubbuck had confused co-workers by claiming she needed to read a newscast to start Suncoast Digest, something she hadn't done prior. That morning's guest waited across the studio while Chubbuck sat at the news anchor's desk. During the first 8 minutes of her program, Chubbuck had covered 3 national news stories, and then a shooting at a local restaurant the day before, which was at Beef and Bottle at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport. The film reel of the restaurant shooting had jammed, and then Christine then apologized to the viewers that the film reel could not be played, but to tune into News Watch at 5:30 p.m., and then reported that Grace Foster, who was shot at the restaurant, is in satisfactory condition at the Sarasota Memorial Hospital, which ironically is where Christine would be rushed to after shooting herself on the air. Christine then followed up with the words, "In keeping with the WXLT practice of presenting the most immediate and complete reports of local blood and guts news, TV40 presents what is believed to be a television first, in living color and exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide." As she uttered her final words, she pulls out a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver from under the desk and points it at her right ear, and fires, leaving her paralyzed and twitching for moments as she slams her face onto the desk, bleeding. Afterwards, the screen then fades to a technical difficulties screen, and afterwards a public service announcement is played and then a movie. Bewildered viewers call the police and then call the station to see if what they had seen was a sick idea for a joke. Unbeknownst, it was all real and not staged. The co-workers too couldn't process if what they were seeing was fake. They all assumed it was all a joke until they realized it was all indeed real. Christine was then rushed to the Sarasota Memorial Hospital, where she was pronounced dead 14 hours later, where she was being hospitalized. After the shooting, news director Mike Simmons had found a script from which Christine had been reading from, as well as a third-person account to be read by whichever staff member took over the broadcast after the incident. He said her script called for her condition to be listed as critical and be rushed to the Sarasota Memorial Hospital, which she correctly predicted and foreshadowed. Her body was cremated. The funeral ceremony was held on the beach, where her ashes were scattered into the Gulf of Mexico. At least approximately 120 people attended, including local officials who had appeared on her show. 3 songs by her favorite singer Roberta Flack were played. As of this date, the tape containing Christine's unfortunate death is still missing. In 2016, there were 2 movies based on Christine Chubbuck, one called Christine 2016, which stars Rebecca Hall as Christine Chubbuck and chronicles her life in the 1970s and leading up to her death, and another one called Kate Plays Christine, which both premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. In early 2017, a supposed leaked video of Christine Chubbuck's suicide made it online in a video by Nation Squid, but this was debunked by a co-worker of Christine who said that the real video was shot up close. Then on April 9th, 2021, user Adalist then uploaded a video containing only audio of Christine's suicide, which runs for about 2 minutes and 1 second. Many people have doubted and debated the authenticity of the audio, some claiming that it is fake and was made for a song. But I honestly quite doubt that, as it sounds too real to me, because there's no way that anyone can replicate Christine Chubbuck's voice that well. As of July 15th, 2024, about 50 years after the incident, the video is still lost. But I don't know, man. I mean, as curious as people will be, I just am horrified at the idea that the video will get found, though. The only last remaining copy of the video is still kept by a law firm for safekeeping by the wife of the deceased owner of WXLT-TV, Molly Nelson. When her husband had died after making a copy of the suicide tape, she handed over the copy to her. And later on, when people online were made aware of the tape's existence, she was made uncomfortable by this and kept the tape hidden, which it still remains there to this day. It's unknown how Adulthood got the audio of the tape, possibly from the only known source, or someone might have recorded the suicide the morning Suncoast Digest aired, though this is unlikely since VCRs were uncommon then, and back in those times VHS were non-existent, and only U-matic tapes would have been a thing, though those were expensive in the 70s. The original video by Adulthood has since then been privatized. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all later in another edition of the Lost Media Mysteries. And I also would like to pay tribute to the late Christine Chubbuck, as today would be the 50th anniversary of her death.